Yo, what's going on, snipers? Welcome back to our Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, we had the first round of the playoffs against the San Jose Sharks, and they managed to beat us because I think it's just because they were kind of an underrated team. Like, basically what happened is last season they missed the playoffs after they had a pretty good run the year before. This year they came back into the playoffs, still had a very good roster on paper. They were able to sweep us and get themselves to a Stanley Cup final, which they end up wanting to win. So does suck that we were eliminated, obviously, considering this episode right now is going to be the final off-season before we get into our final season simulation in the next episode. So the series is coming to an end relatively really quickly, like probably this week, I guess. Basically depends on how far we get in the playoffs, if we do get to the playoffs in the final season, because this team did suffer some pretty big retirements also in that last episode, because we did lose Ristolainen after all these years. So Risto hung them up at the age of 40 after like 1,800 plus games. We also lost Cashman, which was kind of a bit of a surprise, but he was dropping off a bit, so it did make sense. And we also lost Drew Bell in the same season, which is also pretty insane. So lost a lot of players, but at least it should give us a little bit more flexibility with the cap, and also give us a chance to call up some guys from the AHL going into next season. Because we do have some guys in the system that probably will get a good chance this year, like McKinnon potentially could get a chance in the NHL this season. Maybe even Licht could get a chance, depends on if he grows a little bit more. Moroza might get a chance this season. And the big one that's going to be getting a chance this season is the left wing, right wing in Vasiliev. He's definitely going to be playing in the NHL this coming season. Maybe Hartman gets a chance. Really depends if we could get him into the lineup or not. But we do have a lot of young guys probably jumping up, which is going to be exciting to see at least what they could do in this last season. Like I said, I'm not too sure if this team is going to be a playoff team in the final season, but I'm hoping just for some pretty good results. And then obviously, basically, once we get eliminated from playoff contention, the episode afterwards or whatever will basically be a full-on recap where we look at player stats and stuff like that. We look at the record books, look around the entire NHL and see if there's any former players that are still playing, and then we could take a look at their career stats and, yeah, basically just wrap up this franchise mode. So if we miss the playoffs, we might be like literally 3 episodes away from that. If we make the playoffs, it could be like a lot longer than that, but we are very close to the end of the series, which means the throwback series will definitely be starting relatively soon. But anyways, before we get into our final off-season and seeing what we could draft and all that stuff, and if we could basically maintain the most of this roster, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll see what ends up happening. So the first 2 comments are from Garage TV. The first one says, prediction 4-0 Sharks. This team should not have even made the playoffs. And then his reply to that, which was his other comment, says, I was right, got destroyed. So I don't know about saying that we didn't deserve to make the playoffs. I think we actually could have probably been decided as a playoff team. We were really good defensively during the season, but I don't know. I didn't think our team was going to be a playoff team very long. Like I said, I think last year, before we even simulated the season, I think our team could be a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to be a team that could easily get to a cup finals again. And yeah, I don't think that's still going to happen with our roster. Now, we did run into a really good Sharks team, so maybe if we ran into somebody else, we would have had a chance to win the first round. But definitely the team has seen some better days, because right now, basically, on our roster, we have, like, Dunham and Hunwick, who are really good overall-wise. Everybody else is 86 and below, so it's not the strongest team on paper, but it's definitely not the weakest team I've ever seen either. So I do think this team could still make it back to the playoffs, because we do have a lot of good goaltenders and all that, but obviously really just depends on, I guess, the chemistry and the coaching staff and all that stuff if we are going to be a playoff team. And if we are going to be a playoff team, how long are we going to be it for? And the last and final comment is from Sauertalk. This is a difficult result, but not entirely unexpected. For the final season, get as many young players on the roster as you can, even if it means having to run some 76 to 77 overalls. And yeah, we'll try and get as much young guys into the lineup as possible for this last season. I'm thinking for sure, at least, we'll obviously have Vasiliev, because Vasiliev is definitely NHL ready. Hartman is probably one of these guys I could use as a depth option. Depends if I bring back Doughty or not. If also, I guess, Kolarz drops off a cliff completely, maybe Hartman takes his job. I'm not too sure exactly. But according to our AHL, some other players that could probably get the jump for sure. McKinnon definitely could be a center for his team, I think. Obviously, with the loss of Ristolainen, with the loss of Cashman, it does open up some center spots. So I think there might be a good chance that Eli McKinnon gets a debut, which is kind of exciting because he is a decent offensive player, but I don't think he has the craziest attributes. He does have very good shooting accuracy, but his power is not really there. So we'll see if this guy could actually score some goals if he does get thrown in. Guys like Sagan and Lawson that are older, I don't think they matter too much because they're not really that young. But if Moroza jumps up to like a 78 halfway through the season, maybe we call him up. Licht, like I said, maybe gets a chance this year as well. He did just play one AHL season at his age, so he is a bit older, but he is definitely developing at a decent rate. Newberry maybe gets a chance. We'll see what he's looking like at the start of the season. Aside from that, really, probably everybody else is not going to get a chance to play, my guess. And then from a goaltending perspective, we're going to have like literally 3 goalies in the NHL this season. So probably what's going to end up happening is we're probably going to have to maybe play like, say, Gionta for 10 games in a row as a starter. Basically then flip-flop, so it's Bachman and Dronov as the goalies for the next 20 games, then put Gionta back in. I honestly don't know what I want to do with that. I think I might honestly keep Gionta in as a starter full-time and then just substitute Andronov and Bachman out every 10 games or so. I'm not really too sure, but we are definitely going to have to run a 3-goaltending system in the NHL for a little bit at least. And then the AHL has 2 good goaltenders, and then Owens should be getting his ELC as well. So a lot of good goalie prospects with this team, and hopefully we have some good results because we got good goaltending. Our defensive core, to be honest, is still pretty strong, I would say, for the most part, but Tulipov is definitely dropping off. I don't know if he's going to come back again this upcoming season. McLeod might fall back to defense, depends on what we want to do with our young prospects on offense, but yeah, it could be an opportunity. And then from an offensive standpoint, I don't really think our offensive core is that bad. Maybe not super strong on that left wing side of things especially. But Vasiliev, I think, can definitely grow a lot throughout the season. And who knows, there's a chance he could be our top line left wing or right winger playing next to somebody like Cogliano or Kopitz. So will be interesting to see what this team's looking like in terms of our roster once we actually get to the start of the season and all that. So with that said, let's hop into this final draft and see what we can snag up here. There is some intriguing players, not very much of them, but there is one intriguing player that's supposed to go in the first round that might go a spot before a pick, or he could end up going around our selection. So I'm hoping that we're able to grab him, because that would be a decent prospect that actually might get a chance to play in the NHL next season if we do have him. So with that said, let's take a look at this year's top 5 and see who ends up taking who. Obviously, these drafts don't really matter too much at this stage, but it's still kind of fun just to see what type of names go out there. So the New York Islanders, with the first overall selection, are going to take Reefers, who's an 82 overall left-wing playmaker. His first name is Reiner Reefers. Fun name to say. Looking like this, pretty solid. Has Spinorama as well, so not too bad. So there is Reefers, probably the German player, my guess. Colorado at number 2 is going to select Kaltinen? I don't know. I'm trying to think if I can actually pronounce this Finnish last name properly. I know some of you Finns are going to probably try and correct me just because I can pronounce a lot of Finnish last names, but this is one that I probably have a little bit more of a tough time with just because of the TIA area. I'm just not too sure on how that would be pronounced in Finnish, but Vesa Kaltinen, he's got really good passing, obviously another playmaker. He goes to Colorado. Chicago at number 3, what are they going to select? Because Hivznikov, so he's an 80 overall left-wing playmaker. So a lot of playmakers here early in this draft class, which is kind of interesting. So Gustavs goes to Chicago. So there he is. Let's see what Anaheim takes at 4. Jacobs, yeah, this is a pretty solid draft class, at least for this top 5 so far, because every one of these guys are pretty much NHL ready, at least. It's not like one of those draft classes where you see guys that are like 76 overall going top 5, but Thomas Jacobs on his way to the Ducks. He is a power forward, and he's got all alone. Could become a pretty decent goal scorer. Obviously, the shooting categories aren't the craziest yet, but already a 3.5-star shooter. If he develops into a 5-star shooter, that guy could be a good goal scorer once this mode ends. Carolina at number 5 is going to select Nabokov, who is the first defenseman in this draft class. He is a 79 overall offensive defenseman, and he does have Spinorama. Maybe a future Norris winner. Very good shot power, not the most accurate yet, but definitely looks like he could definitely produce on a good level offensively. And also, he's not too bad in terms of like body checking and all that for an offensive defenseman, but his defensive awareness is not bad either. So it looks like he could become an all-around solid defenseman for Carolina if they develop him in the right way. All right, let's simulate to our pick and see if that guy that I want is still on the board. I feel like he's literally going to go right before our pick, but that's okay. Let's see. Boom. And yep, he literally went one spot before. That is quite annoying. That is quite annoying because I did really want this guy. Letuvori is on his way to Dallas. 78 overall low elite, two-way forward. This would have been nice because we could have literally played this guy in our NHL lineup next season already, but unfortunately he goes to Dallas. Really good steal there for the Dallas Stars at 22nd overall. Would have been nice if he fell to 23rd, but unfortunately not the case. But yeah, that's such a great pick, especially with the guy that went beforehand. Like, guards is only a medium 9, so looks like a pretty standard draft aside from that steal right there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find anything crazy good in this first round, but at least we're in the late stages of this, so it doesn't matter too much. But we're definitely going to still try and find the best players possible here. DeMello looks basic. Anybody look crazy good with attributes here? Because if I see any good attribute spread, then maybe we take them. But right now it's not. Oh, okay, never mind. We found one. And it's a right winger too, so that's actually kind of nice. I did pin him actually. He's only guaranteed medium 6, which kind of sucks. But he could potentially be ready enough to play in the NHL or AHL next season. Regardless, he's a big two-way forward. We do need right wingers probably. We need probably more left wingers, but this guy looks the best out of the bunch. So let's take Marco Tulola, even though he's not supposed to go till 38th. So Marco, welcome aboard. Boom. 73 overall, that's not too bad. Yeah, he could definitely probably play in the AHL in this final season ahead. I don't see why not. Looks pretty solid. Would have been nice to get the other guy, though, considering he's like an NHL-ready low lead, basically. But Tulola, like I said, he could definitely jump into the AHL lineup already next season, which is kind of nice. So let's simulate to our next pick at 56 and see if we missed out on any crazy steals here. There's a medium elite goaltender. Don't really need them at this stage, especially because we got a lot of goalie prospects already. Looks like some basic medium 6s and medium 4s. There's a low elite offensive defenseman in Glass. Nicholas Glass would have been probably pretty nice, but at the same time, we won't ever get to see this guy develop, so I'm okay with not taking him in that sense. Medium elite goalie in Rome as well. Looks pretty basic after that fact, I think. Let's go to our pick here. So, Dinner's DeMello. Medium 9s, medium 6s. Yep, pretty much basic. Okay. Well, let's see what we could get here in round numero dos. There's a guy named Outlaw, which kind of is a cool name. Frederick Outlaw. I don't know if he's low elite or not. He might be a low elite. We'll pin him in case, but who else we got around this point? Nobody really. The other guys are later steals, so we probably will have to go with one of these dudes here somewhere. Glenn Cross doesn't look very insane. Anybody with crazy good attributes here, too? Doesn't seem like it. This guy's okay, maybe. Yeah, you know what? I think we're just going to go with Outlaw here. Might as well go for a right-handed defenseman. So, Frederick Outlaw, welcome to the team. Let's see how good you are. Boom. And he is a medium top 60 offensive defenseman. I was not expecting him to be an offensive defenseman, but I guess I'll take it. He's a 63 overall, so this is pretty much around where he's supposed to go. Could become a decent AHL defenseman, but I don't think he'll become an NHLer, but we will never get to find out anyways. Alright, let's simulate to number 89 now, see if we can find anything in this draft class aside from that first round pick, but definitely not looking too strong for this last class, unfortunately. Tim Hatcher could be a low elite, but no guarantees. Trying to see who else we got here. Maybe Haley? Yeah, this is not the strongest class. There's another medium 6. There's a Gem Bolduc. He is 20 years old, though, so probably not the best to take a 20-year-old at this stage, even if he's a gem. There's also Franson, who's not supposed to go for later. He's also 20 years old. I think I'm just going to go for an earlier selection here than that gem. So let's go for Hatcher and hope that he's a low elite or something like that. So Tim, welcome aboard. Medium 4, 68. That's actually a lot better than I anticipated. Obviously, it's not a low elite, but that's better than our second round pick. So That's a really good starting overall for a medium forward defenseman. Like, this guy could honestly make the NHL if this series had like 3 more years left. He could definitely make our blue line. So I like that selection a lot, actually. That's pretty good. Like I said, I wasn't expecting him to become that good of an overall, but he's pretty solid. I'm surprised he wasn't listed as a gem. Let's simulate to 122 now, see what we could get in round 4. See if we could find anything else here. Leonardo Davies. 20 years old. No, thank you. Koltsov. What's your first name? Nikita. Yeah, this draft class is probably one of the weaker ones we've seen. It was good early on, but it's definitely fallen off quite substantially. A lot of medium bottom sixes and stuff supposed to go. Most of these guys at this point are not going to be good players to draft, but let's already go for the guys we had pinned, and then we could just take somebody else with the other selections. So let's start off by taking Chandler Weiss, one of the late season offensive defensemen, 57 overall. So that's not too bad, but he is a little bit older. We won't get to see him develop, but at least it's more prospects. Let's simulate to 155 now and take that other guy, and then we'll probably make some crazy random picks with the last few ones. Novoseltsev, two-way defenseman, boom. 65, that's actually a pretty good starting point. Another offensive defenseman, which I wasn't expecting. But, yeah, 65 at 19 is not a bad starting point. It's definitely not super high up, but he could definitely become something for this team down the road, if there was more years. Let's simulate to 188 because we got 2 more selections left to make. At this point, I honestly don't know what to take, so we're going to definitely just sort by potential and see if there's anybody with good attributes that could become something decent. Let's see, anybody with like a B stat or something like that? There's a B stat. There's another B stat. I saw there was a guy that... Oh, okay, this guy might be better because he looks like he could be okay in terms of overall. Matti Salonen. He is another offensive defenseman, which I don't really know if I want more offensive defensemen, but at this stage, we're just trying to load up the future of this team a bit. So, you know what? Let's just go for this dude. Sure. Boom. Low top 6D. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I thought his attributes would have made him a better potential, but last pick of our drafting history with this Draft to Glory team. Are we going to find any crazy steal here? Let's see. Anybody with a really good attribute spread? Not really. Anybody listed as a gem still? No. Well, that's definitely going to make it tougher. Nobody left pinned either. Thornson's probably supposed to go around this point, but he's probably like a fringe or a backup or an AHL starter even. Is there anybody that could be elite that's supposed to maybe still get drafted? There is Landon Marks. He is 20 years old, but you know what? We're going to just take a chance on him with our last selection. So Landon, welcome aboard. Medium bottom 6. Pretty bad. So I would say that's not the worst draft in the world for us because I think some of those low elites could be decent down the road. Hatcher was, I'd say, a pretty good steal. The second round pick, not a great one. First round pick was solid considering we couldn't get the NHL ready guys. So in general, not the best, but not the worst draft we've ever had for Albuquerque. So unfortunately, we won't get to see any of these guys playing the NHL. Tulola might get his ELC right away to play in the AHL, but aside from that, not too sure if anybody else will get a chance to play in the AHL next year. So, all right. Well, re-sign stage. This is where it's going to be interesting to see how much money we got to spend. Obviously, we lost a lot of guys due to retirements, so we might have a decent chunk of money to re-sign these dudes, which is good. Because there is, I think, at least 1 or 2 contracts that are pretty big that we need to dish out. If I remember right. Because I think Ricard Hudman was the big one. If I remember right. Let's make sure we're getting back this associate coach for the AHL. Boom. Don't need to bring back any NHL coaches, which is kind of nice. But we do got to bring back a lot of scouts. So let's just re-sign them, even though we aren't going to need them any longer after the season. But these scouts have done, I'd say, a pretty good job at building this team up. Obviously, with the 1 Stanley Cup only for this franchise kind of sucks because I thought we could have won more. But I think we still have had some really fun players in the series. So I don't think this series has been as my favorite as, like, say, Anchorage or something like that. But I do think it's probably still, like, a fun series in the sense where I really like some of the guys we've had on this roster, like Staubitz, Ristolainen. Like, there's definitely a lot of guys that could be Channel Hall of Famers from the series. So We could always do in the last episode. If you guys want to maybe give me a list down below before we even get to the final episode of people you want to see in the Hall of Fame and the most unanimous players, like the top 3 names I see. If you guys give me like a list of 5 players, or maybe if I make a poll, maybe I can make a poll and you guys could vote on that. Maybe by the final episode, we could induct people in that final episode instead of doing its own episode. That could be something. Yeah, maybe I'll do a poll or something like that. And if I do a poll, then I'd probably put it in the description. So, we'll see what we end up doing with that. Alright, so, re-sign players. How much money we got to spend? $53 million. Okay, that's a lot of money just because of the retirements. We are going to definitely sign Moroza to his ELC because that guy is definitely ready to play in the AHL. We are also going to give Tulola an opportunity right out of the draft to play in the AHL. Everybody else, I think I'm not going to sign yet. There's some decent prospects that could get signed for the AHL, but I would prefer to wait on them. So, well, not really wait on them, but in terms of our RFAs, we'll probably just end up qualifying most of these dudes, unless they want 2-way contracts, which we could just easily give out. So let's just do that on the 2-way guys. The 1-way dudes, like McKinnon might want a 1-way now at this point. Let's see. No, he wants a 2-way. You got it, buddy. You got it. Let's see. We might be able to get most of these guys back for dirt cheap. Johnson's also really cheap. Let's just talk him down a little bit here just because we like to save our money. A little bit, $950 for 1 year. Take the money. Hartman, are you going to want a 2-way or a 1-way? You are going to want a 2-way. Nice. Okay. That's easy for me. Dingle, we might have to qualify you, though. You know what? You're not really that bad. 3 years, though, and you're in UFA. Let's just knock this down a little bit, this money. I'm okay with re-signing him for 3 years. Get a little trial run for him. And in Bergforce, do I need Bergforce back for the AHL? Probably. But do I have the goalie space if I bring in Owens? Let's just try and get Owens signed first and see if I have to let go of goalie or not. Never mind, I guess I don't. So we'll bring back Bergforce as well for the AHL. He actually wants a 2-way deal still, which is really nice. Maybe he gets a chance to play in the NHL at some point this season as well if there's multiple injuries. We're not really hoping for that, though. Let's just give him a 2-way deal. Boom. And then in terms of UFAs, obviously the big one is Hunwick. It's not Hutton. So Hunwick is going to take a lot of money, but we don't really care at this stage. Very low organizational interest in this team. So we do not have any leeway of knocking us down too much. He is 30 years old at this point, so we got to take note of that. But obviously this would just sign him up for the rest of the series. We have the cap space, I might as well give it. So let's just wait on that for a second here. Let's go to the bottom of this list. Let go of some of these prospects that are not going to pan out. Which most of them don't seem like they're going to. 70 at 20 is pretty good, so we'll give Kawachi an ELC. Conan definitely needs an ELC as well as a low elite. Maybe he makes it before the end of the series, I doubt it though. Aside from that, let's see. Let's try and bring back Peluso because he's pretty young still for the AHL. I'm going to free up some roster room by letting go of Young. Seagal is also kind of close to being NHL again. We'll just give him a 2-way deal. If they want 2-way deals, it's no reason not to hold on to them, right? So we'll just give a lot of these guys 2-way contracts. So that way we have as much depth as possible just in case of any drop-off or anything like that. Lawson wants 2-way. Take the money. What about Tulipov? What was he wanting at this stage? Tulipov still wants 1.6. I don't know if he's going to play on our defensive core next season, so I honestly might let him walk still. We're definitely going to sign Walt to another contract. He's not that bad for bottom 6 option here. So let's just talk him down a little bit. 1.8. Krejcik, you're going to be probably relatively cheap too, right? Yeah, 2-way deal. Take the money. Thank you. I mean, if they want 2-ways, might as well, right? Might as well. Karlotti wants a 1-way deal. He would definitely be the replacement for Tulipov on that top 6 pairing. So I think we're going to probably hold on to him and probably Tulipov. Is he listed as a depth defenseman now? He is. We might be able to hold on to Tulipov as a depth defender. But Karlotti's kind of expensive. So maybe I just give him a... Let's just give him a clause. I don't know if I want to give him a clause. It just seems kind of strange, but let's give him a clause. So I could just basically hold on to him without having to worry. But then I also have to be worried about waivers, and I can't send him down. And that's fine. Let's just do it. Boom. Let's just do that. Doughty, what about you? What do you want? You're cheap. You're cheap as hell. We're basically going to just try and hold on to everybody as possible. And if there's some guys that have to play in the AHL in the last season, so be it. But Hansen's 3.2, that's also kind of expensive. Let's get Kolar signed, because obviously Kolar's is important to the future of this team. Still, actually not really the future of this team, I should say. But he's kind of going to be maybe the captain of this team for the last season. So let's talk him down a little bit. Let's try and get Hunwick. Let's just give Hunwick what he's asking for at this point. I know it's a lot of money, but we don't really care about our money going into this last season. I know it's kind of unrealistic, but it is what it is. Let's advance and see if we get everybody that I want back so far. If there's any rejections in there, obviously we'll adjust, but hoping that most people accepted, so just so we don't have to deal with a lot of these contracts. Okay, it looks like a lot of guys accepted, so all the RFAs are on board, and then we just have 3 UFAs left. Perfect. We have a lot of money still in cap space. We actually might need a cap whale for this last season, which is kind of hilarious, so I guess we will hold on to everybody, and I'll give Tulipov a lot of more money just to maybe keep us cap compliant. Now, we could look for free agents and see if there's any former players still out there, but let's just give Tulipov like $5 million bucks. Even if he's a depth defenseman, it's more just to make us cap compliant, because we actually might need cap whales again without going into this last season. So thank you, Tulipov. Seguin, you also want a one-way deal, which is not exactly what I had in mind, but at this stage we are trying to stay cap compliant, so we might as well just give you what you're asking for. You might be in the AHL though, to be honest. And in Hansen, we're just going to give you what you're asking for as well. So boom, take the money. Thank you. Should be pretty easy to get all those guys in. Alright, so let's see if Sagan accepts as well. And it looks like he is going to, it says. Yep, perfect. Okay. $25 million in cap space. We might have to bring in some former players, but everybody's been re-signed. I'm not too sure if some people are going to get demoted to the AHL, but it might have to happen. So let's see if there's any former players in free agency now. Because if there's some former players in free agency, maybe we could bring some of them back, but we might want to just run the younger guys, to be honest. So let's just see if there's any former people. Apparently we didn't get the AHL associate coach back, which is not a huge issue. But let's see what we got in case there's any former players I want to bring back for this team. So in terms of UFA goaltenders, obviously we don't really need any goaltenders, but we just will check anyways. We have a lot of goalies at the moment, so Eric Hall is still there in free agency. Don't see really anybody else. Oh, there's Mathers. What has Mathers been up to since he's left us? Played in Grand Rapids the last 2 years, so he's not even been an NHL goalie after he signed with Detroit. Poor guy. What has actually Eric Hall been up to? Just in case these guys don't get contracts from NHL teams. He was with LA last year, and he was pretty damn good as a backup, so shout out to him. But he has not played a playoff game still since he played with us. What about defenders? Any former defensemen that I forgot about? I'm trying to see here. Oh, Zach Hurd's in free agency. Shout out to Zach Hurd. We don't need to bring him back, though, because Carlotti's likely going to be back in the lineup again this season, so don't need to bring him back. Marek Mihalik's a free agent, so there's going to be some former players that definitely sign with teams that we'll be able to take a look at in the recap final episode. So that's going to be interesting. Let's see where those guys sign. Trying to see if there's anybody else. Not that I see here. What about forwards, like right wingers and all that? Not really seeing any former players too much other than those defensemen so far. It does not look like it. Okay. What about left wingers? Seems like there's a lack of former players still out there in the NHL. Honestly, don't know who's still playing that used to play with us, because I feel like a lot of them have retired since. So, which kind of sucks. Kind of sucks. Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody. Centers. Anybody that used to play with us at center? Does not seem like it. Damn. That's unfortunate. Well, we might be under the cap to start the season, but that's okay. Alvin Ashton's back there again. He's never played an NHL game with us, right? Oh, no, he did. He played 3 games with 2 goals. I forgot he scored 2 goals in 3 games. He's not really much of anything, to be honest, but it would be nice to have him back. He was a former first-round pick. Did not pan out, but, I mean, 2 goals in 3 games. At least he did well when he was in the lineup, but I don't think I'm going to bring him back. All right, so I guess we're not going to bring back any former players. Do we want to adjust our coaching staff at all going into the last season? I don't feel like it's necessary. We do need a goalie coach still, so let's go and look for ourselves for a goalie coach at least. Is there any better head coaching options for our team? Not really. Okay. Let's see. We do need a goalie with good teaching grades, so let's just bring in Matthias Sailak as our NHL goalie coach. Chicago and San Jose are also interested, so might be tough to win out against San Jose, who just won the cup, but let's see if we could get that goalie coach in. And aside from that, everything else should be fine. So I think we're good on that. Let's advance a few days, see if we get that goalie coach. And once we get that confirmation, there we go. We already got the confirmation. We're going to sim up to next season, get this lineup set up. I honestly don't really know what to expect from our team this season. Like I said, I think we could still make the playoffs. I know some of you guys think we're not that good of a team still, but I think our goaltending and our forward core, our defensive core is good. Our forward core is a mixed bag, so that's where it could be a big issue is if we're not scoring goals again. But we'll see what the team's able to do next episode, obviously, in its final season sim. I really hope we make it back to the playoffs, but if we don't, at least we made the playoffs a lot of years in a row. So let's go to headlines here and see what we're working with. Obviously, a lot of the younger guys from the AHL hopefully will get a chance to play the season. So let's go roster moves here and see what we got. So in terms of goaltending, Gionta has dropped off to an 86, and Dronov is up to an 86. And we also have to, oh my goodness, Bachman and Bergfors are both NHL ready too. I was not expecting Bergfors to jump up to 81, but Bachman's going to come up as a third string goaltender for sure. So likely Andronov and Bachman will get swapped between backup roles like every 10 games or so. I don't know how often those guys are going to play, to be honest, but AHL has 3 really good goalies. NHL has 3 really good goalies. Like, I kind of feel like I'm cheating the system a bit, but it is what it is. Does anybody not go through waivers in the NHL goaltending tandems? No, they all do go through waivers, so we got to be careful with that. From a defensive standpoint, let's see. 1, 2 with McLeod, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sagan's a top 6 defenseman, so I'm going to send Sagan down. We're going to call up Lawson just because of the role situation with those guys. Aside from that, wow, Tulipov dropped to a 75. Well, Tulipov's going to play in the AHL, I guess, the final season. It's not a huge issue. We could run McLeod still as a forward, but I think we might not be able to just because of the young guys. Wall, Reefers, Robertson, Dunham. That looks good. What about left wingers? Vasilyev's an 83. Damn. Dingle, Hartman. Hartman's up to an 81 as well. We might have too many third-line scoring forwards. Moroz is listed as a fourth liner going into the season, so I am going to probably send down Doughty for the time being, just because Kolars needs to stay in the lineup. There might be some guys scratched that shouldn't be scratched, though. I'm not really liking that, to be honest. McKinnon and Licht are pretty much ready to go as well. I mean, technically, I need to... I'd probably use Krejcik as a depth forward. I need to basically... Who do I want to send down as well on this forward group? How good is Wall on paper? He was pretty solid scoring goals, right? 18 points isn't crazy, to be honest. I'm going to send down Wall because I do want a guy that's actually more as a depth forward. So I probably will call up McKinnon as that other option. Man, we have way too many players that are pretty much ready to go. Krejcik's probably going to be a depth forward for sure. I want to have another depth forward. I guess I'd have to have a depth defenseman, which I guess I have with Lawson. So, okay, I think we might be okay. But I still don't know if I like necessarily putting Putting some guys in the AHL that shouldn't be, like Wall, YZ in the AHL, Doughty, YZ in the AHL. Licht maybe should be up here, but I don't think there's any way I could get these guys in, and I want to get some younger guys into the lineup, so let's see if we can rework this team a bit. Obviously, if there's any issues with how we simulate, we could obviously make more adjustments, but let's see. So Vasiliev, Kopitz, and Dunham as the top line is probably what I'm leaning towards. Cogliano, does he work better? Not really. Yeah, I think that's what I'm leaning towards. Hartman is a scoring forward. He's a sniper. Dingle's a two-way, right? Yeah, Dingle gets down that third line. Kolar's to the fourth line. Do I want Kolar's as a fourth line or not really? He can take face-offs kind of as well, but maybe Vasiliev could play right wing too. But I do kind of want Vasiliev on that top line, to be honest. So let's see. What could I do here? I don't know if I really like that, to be honest. Swap this around. Who's scratched at the moment? Moroza definitely needs to be playing in the lineup, so I would probably scratch, like I said, Krajicek. And Moroza would come on in. So that looks okay. McKinnon, Kohlers, and Moroza. That's not bad. That's not bad at all, but I feel like the chemistry could be a lot better. I'm not too sure how. Like I said, we could put McLeod back to forward again, but maybe keeping him on defense is an okay thing for this last season. Yeah, because it definitely makes us stronger defensively. And then goalies, obviously, it would be Gionta and Andronov for the time being. Bachman might get in literally in a little bit late into the season. Yeah, something like that. I don't know if I don't hate this forward group, but I don't know how I'm going to get a lot of people ice time. Like I said, I don't really like sending Doughty and Wall to the AHL, but there's not really much else I could do. And I don't think I could get any other younger guys into the lineup really. Like, I would love to put Licht on our forward group. Don't think I could get him in right now. Like, he's probably a year out, unfortunately. And then, yeah, there's Bergfors, who could honestly be in the NHL too. So, we have a lot of goalies in the AHL. But we are going to have to scratch Shodin. And that's probably the only scratch down there, yeah. Is what it is, though. I think that's an okay-looking forward group. It's, I think, maybe a little bit stronger than last year because when you think about it on paper, at least McKinnon is going to be getting better as the season goes on. Moroza should be getting better as the season goes on. Vasiliev will be. Hartman maybe gets a little bit better as the season goes on. So I think it's better than it looks. Let's go to our power play and make sure some of the younger guys are on the power play too. So we will probably take Cogliano off the power play here. Actually, maybe not. He's pretty good overall. That's a -5, that power play unit. That's actually pretty atrocious. I can kind of see why our team didn't do good last year with that power play, but let's see. We want to get some of the younger guys in, so I'm going to take Kopitz. I'm going to move actually Kopitz to center. We're going to take Cogliano, move him to the second unit. I just don't want to have two grinders on the same power play unit. We are going to put, on this one, we're going to put Vasiliev on the point. Makes it a -3. That's not as bad. Here, we're going to go with, I guess we could put not Kopitz. We're going to have to put Cogliano in this spot here. That makes it a -5 too. Cogliano is not a perfect fit. Hartman's actually a pretty bad fit, so maybe we take Malachi Hartman off and we give this to somebody like Nold instead since he's a two-way defenseman. Yeah, these power play units really don't look the best with this coach, so maybe we make some adjustments. But the penalty killing looks fantastic. Like, I could definitely see why we simulated more like a defensive team last season. Because we definitely have a good penalty killing unit, but the power play looks like shit. The offense is okay. Definitely could be better chemistry. Yeah, I think this is honestly what we're going to have to run with. Is it pretty? Not really. Are we going to get everybody the ice time that they deserve? Not sure. But this is our team. This is our team, probably. So let's see the coaching fit right now. Out of curiosity, I'm kind of curious on the coaching fit. Also, we do need to adjust the captains. But in terms of coaching fit, Bielis right now, how does he fit the team? 62. Okay, let's demote him for a second here. Just so we can see if any of these other guys are better as a coach for our team. Duchesne is a 60, so that is a little bit worse, unfortunately. And then Hromis is a 66. Hromis might be the guy. He might be the guy, even if he's a little bit worse in terms of overall rating. Let's take a look at how Hromis fits this team in terms of our penalty kill and all that. So 5-on-5, it's still the same thing. Basically, the fourth and the third line get a little bit better chemistry. Defensively, the chemistry looks pretty okay. The power play is a little bit improved. -2 instead of -3. -2 on that unit. Still not the best chemistry on the power play, to be honest, but it's not the end of the world. +5, +2. Yeah, maybe we try a different coach for the season. Maybe just because it's a little trial run for the last year. Yeah, I think we might try Hromis as the head coach. It means Nat Duchesne's going to be the assistant, and Bielis, who was our head coach, is going to be the associate. Obviously, if we get off to a bad start, Bielis might go back to head coach again, but we try reworking these coaches a bit to see if that helps anything at all. There is some good coaches in the AHL too, but I don't think they're going to make us much better, to be honest. So, that's all good and ready to go. Let's see the captains on this team. See if they actually did make Kolarz the next captain. The answer is yes, they did. Okay, so Kolarz will be the captain for the final season in Albuquerque. Dunham has an assistant. I don't mind that. And then Hunwick has the other one. I honestly think that's a pretty good leadership group. Obviously, McLeod could have a letter maybe. But Dunham has been here a long time. Hunwick's been here a long time as well. So I think those guys probably deserve it for this last season. I don't think there's anybody else that deserves it more. So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to run with for our captaincies. And I think that's almost it. Is there anything else we want to take a look at before we end this last off-season episode? Obviously, this draft class isn't going to matter because we're not going to actually get the draftees players. So I don't even know why the game generates players in the last year, but it is what it is. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so. I honestly don't. Let's actually get it to the start of the preseason already, though, just because I want to see what our coach thinks about our roster going into our last season. So preseason focus, since we're an older team, let's just keep on conditioning. We do have a lot of younger guys, but still. And our season goal, what does he think about our roster? He thinks we're good enough to compete for the cup. I don't know if Hromis is smoking something funny or what, but he thinks this team is good enough to make the Stanley Cup Finals. So, who knows? Maybe this coach could be onto something for the final year. Maybe he's just a complete crack addict. Who knows? But let's go agree with him just because we might as well give our team at least a bit of confidence that they can make it far. I don't think we're really that bad. I think we have a lot of good goaltending, somewhat of a solid defensive core. Our offensive core could simulate decent this season, but it's a very big if. Like, if Vasilia steps up, if Hartman steps up, and Kolarz does what he normally does, I think we could still probably do well. Kolarz actually isn't even on the power play, is he? No, he is on the second unit. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, I think... Honestly, I think we could be a playoff team again, but we are probably going to be like a first or second round exit. If this team wins the Stanley Cup like the coach says in the final year, I will be pretty surprised. But honestly, I've seen crazier things before, so... Giante and Dronov, and then, like I said, we will give Bachman some games as well, because he was actually pretty good last year for us. Not in the playoffs, but in the regular season he was, so he'll get some games in probably as well as some of the other goalies. And if we run into many major issues this season, obviously we could call up some guys from the AHL, but yeah, this is going to be an interesting last season when we get to it. Very interesting. I honestly think we have an okay team. Like, you look at our top six, solid overalls, nobody superstar players, but third line's not really that bad, maybe a little bit weak. Fourth line's pretty much a fourth line. Defensive core, good top four, solid top six. Honestly, I think we might over-simulate more than under-simulate in the last year. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Albuquerque Aliens Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll have the final season simulation. We'll see if this team makes the playoffs or not. If we do make the playoffs, obviously the recap is pushed back a little bit, but if we miss the playoffs in the next episode, then the recap will literally be the episode after that. So we're pretty close to the end of the series. I'm very much still invested in seeing how this team does, but I'm honestly not too sure what to expect from this roster on paper. I'm not too sure if we're going to have really any guys that are over point per game. Like, I could definitely see us being more of a defensive team again this season, but hopefully once we get to the playoffs, if we get there, we have a bit more offensive flow than we did in the last season that we just had. So let me see that below, and I'll see you guys next time.